Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, February 4th. I'm Sakina Ghayur.
And I'm Sunday Kessig. Here's your news for today. GO trains will continue to run on a modified schedule after a derailment on Monday. Lucas Cortez has the story.
Early Monday morning, many people waited for hours for their GO train to arrive at their station, but it never did. Many riders were left agitated as the delayed trains caused them to miss important events, meetings, or appointments. They were practically left in the dark until they finally got an announcement over the intercom that certain lines were behind schedule due to a disabled train. Others in the station reported being told initially that there was a signal issue. Some said that they took that to mean that the problem was rudimentary and would be swiftly resolved. But as time ticked into the later hours with no train in sight, commuters were getting frustrated. Finally, news broke that a train had derailed, blocking multiple tracks. This caused major delays well into the evening on Monday in all commuter lines and the UP Express. The derailed train wouldn't be moved until Tuesday morning. Delays on some lines persisted for a second day while Metrolinx repaired the track. There was no indication by late Tuesday afternoon when regular service would resume. But only on Tuesday did Metrolinx publicly refer to what happened as a derailment incident. It blamed a disabled train in earlier communications with affected passengers on social media and in statements to reporters on Monday. No injuries were reported as a result of the derailment. Metrolinx spokesperson Lindsay Miller said, quote, "The train came off the track and made contact with the switch. The impact resulted in signal system disruptions." She also said the agency expects repairs to extend into the coming days. Here are some words from commuters who use the GO train.
Yes, I heard of it. I'm actually on the train at that time, so I've been stuck in Union for almost 2 hours. So I know it's been like for 5 hours, and I know all my coworkers are late for work, and I know it's not really fixed the day after. Probably like thousands of people get stuck there.
This is Lucas Cortez with the Sheridan Sun.
5 lane closures are scheduled to take place on provincial highways in Halton. The QEW Toronto and QEW Fort Erie near Dorval Drive will have 3 alternating lanes closed until February 6th at 5 a.m. Highway 403 eastbound near Dundas Street and Burnhamthorpe Road will have 1 alternating lane closed until February 6th at 5 a.m. Highway 403 eastbound between Waterdown Road and QEW Toronto will have 1 alternating lane closed until February 7th at 5 a.m. The disruptions are subject to change due to weather, emergencies, or other factors.
Ontario's NDP leader, Marit Stiles, has joined the support workers' strike outside an Oakville group home. Stiles is hoping to offer encouragement and calling on management to make a fair deal. The nonprofit support home helps those living with developmental and intellectual disabilities. The 240 support workers have been on strike for 11 weeks with no deal in sight. Since September 2024, there have been over 15 discussions and negotiations. With everything going up besides their wages, the union is hoping to bring public awareness to their cause.
The Humane Society of Oakville, Milton, and Halton, HSOMH, has received a donation of $10 million. The organization says the donation comes from a longtime supporter and philanthropist, Klaus Biztek. The contribution comes at a crucial time as HSOMH says it has sold its current property to the town of Oakville and is actively planning to open a new animal center. They have been open since 1936 and have been operating at this current location since 1951.
The Ontario government has announced approximately $5 million in funding for Halton hospitals. The funding will be used to reduce surgical wait times and increase their diagnostic capacity. According to a press release, Joseph Brant Hospital would receive just over $900,000 to support additional CT scan hours. Halton Healthcare Services, which operates hospitals in Oakville, Milton, and Halton Hills, will receive around $2.2 million. This investment is intended to get patients their diagnoses faster so they can receive care sooner.
Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow has proposed to allow the sale of alcohol as early as 6 a.m. for the Olympic Games. This motion for today's council meeting would allow restaurants and cafes to serve alcohol 3 hours earlier than normal for the duration of the Olympics. Due to the time difference between Toronto and the Italian host cities, a number of events would be broadcast as early as 6 in the morning. This proposal comes too late to apply to the first day of the Games, but if passed at today's meeting, would come into effect on the second day of the Olympics.
The RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team has joined the investigation into an alleged bomb-making scheme. Police say the case involves 4 people with ties to Western University in London, Ontario. 3 men and 1 woman are facing allegations of storing explosive-making chemicals and manufacturing a gun at a house just west of campus. The charges follow a trespassing investigation, which led campus police to 212 Chesham Place. The 4 are facing multiple additional charges based on involvement. The RCMP is continuing to provide investigative support to London police.
The family of a man who froze to death in St. Catharines is calling for changes to the city's winter response plan. A vigil was held last week outside the City Council's headquarters before a councillor put forward a motion to reduce the threshold for an emergency response. This would see more supports activated at 0 degrees rather than -10. The vigil was attended by advocates and the family of Bob Allen, who died of hypothermia on the streets of St. Catharines in -8 degrees. The motion was deferred to a meeting next Tuesday. Thousands of students in Ontario are facing school suspension over incomplete immunization records. Parents will be receiving notices or final warnings this month if their child does not have up-to-date records of certain vaccinations. Provincial policy requires students to be vaccinated against a number of diseases like tetanus, polio, and measles. These notices are issued weeks before a suspension order to give students time to get vaccinated.
The Ontario Trillium Benefit is set to issue on February 10th. The benefit helps people cover some of the cost of energy, sales, and property taxes. Ontario residents are automatically eligible for 2026 OTB payments once 2025 tax returns are filed. OTB entitlements can be estimated using the Government of Canada's benefits calculator. The OTB is issued on the 10th day of every month unless it is a weekend or holiday, in which case it'll be issued on the last working day before the 10th.
And now we go to Christian Constantino Ferreira to take a quick look at the weather. Christian, are we free from some snow today?
Yes, thankfully there's no sign of any snow on the horizon today, so you don't have to worry. As you can see, the polar vortex is over, and we finally turned the corner from the freezing weather of the past 2 weeks. Today we finally returned to single-digit temperatures. However, we still sit in the negatives as we come in at a baseline of -5 with the wind chill at -8. Remember when we said -20? It was like last week. Crazy how much a couple of groundhogs can change our fate. It'll be mainly sunny today, but we can expect some clouds to come in as we're live here. It'll drop to around -9 tonight. It's not expected to be too windy today, as you can see, with a low wind chill with gusts at around 5 kilometers an hour. That's all I've got for you right now. I saw a snowman outside earlier, and I really want to go ruin whoever's handiwork it was. I'll be back later on the show for your 5-day forecast. For now, though, I'll send you back to the desk.
Thousands of workers in Montreal go on strike today, after a year with no collective agreement. More on that after the break.
Hi, my name is Manal, and I am the entertainment host.
My name is Christian Cosentino Ferreira. I am Weather Boy, otherwise known as the Weather Reporter.
I'm Nigel D'Souza. I am the sports reporter. And I report on all things sports. Nothing's coming to mind.
I've got a couple good ones. You know, I referenced some stupid text message I got from someone in the program last week. I thought it was pretty funny. Cracked up the producer a couple times. I also had a couple funny fails. You know, we were expecting weather conditions. So expect weather conditions. That was a pretty good one. Yeah.
For me, the best moment of the semester was probably when Christian caused that earthquake in Ontario.
Honestly, it's kind of cool to see how Maddie and Adam have worked in their positions. I feel like that would be really cool.
Nobody actually loved my role, and if I could have it for next half of the semester, I would do it too.
Mine's pretty good. I don't know if I'd be able to give it up, but maybe like I wanted the sports host one. You know, Nigel's not giving a lot of energy.
He is very witty.
We've talked to him a couple times. I'm training him a little bit.
He's got a way with words.
But you know, maybe that one. I'll give it a try.
Thousands of blue-collar workers in Montreal are on a 24-hour strike. This includes almost 6,000 city workers responsible for snow removal, garbage collection, and road maintenance. The workers have been without a collective agreement since the end of 2024, and pay increase has remained a sticking point. According to a decision by Quebec's Labour Tribunal, services like snow clearing and pothole repair will continue, while other disruptions shouldn't affect public health or safety.
The community is feeling the loss of 3 junior players for the Southern Alberta Mustangs. JJ Wright, Cameron Casorso, and Caden Fine were heading to practice. The crash occurred north of Stay Valley when their car collided with a semi-truck. A memorial was held outside of Stay Valley Arena for the community to pay their respects. A GoFundMe has been launched for the families of the players to cover the costs.
Alberta's Bill 11 aims to kill public health care by legislating a 2-tier healthcare system. The provincial government has said that the legislation aims to allow doctors to work in both the public and private system. While there have been concerns about this new system, the government argues that this will be beneficial to the public as it will potentially decrease wait times.
2 Vancouver City Councillors are filing a motion against ICE with the 2026 FIFA World Cup happening this June. A new motion calls on the city to bar U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement from any role at the World Cup events in Vancouver. Councillor Sean Orr and Pete Fry say ICE presence could make visitors feel unsafe and conflict with the city's commitment to human rights and inclusion. They also note ICE has no legal authority in Canada, making the move largely symbolic. Meanwhile, U.S. Border Czar Tom Homan says about 700 ICE officers will be pulled out of Minnesota immediately. According to Homan, this comes as in response to state and local officials cooperating by handing over arrested immigrants. However, he did not give an indication as to when the ICE operation in Minnesota will end, saying it will continue until people stop interfering with federal agents. The 700 agents removed represent about a quarter of those deployed to Minnesota.
The man convicted of trying to assassinate Donald Trump in September of 2024 has been sentenced to life imprisonment this afternoon. Ryan Wesley Ruth was convicted by a jury last September on 5 felony counts. Prior to the trial, he had fired his attorneys, opting to represent himself. The charges include attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate, assaulting a federal officer, and several firearm-related offenses. Ruth continues to deny his intention of killing Trump by suggesting that his attempt was nothing more than a peaceful protest. Trump praised the verdict in a Truth Social post. The newly released Epstein files are raising questions about the relationship between Bill Gates and the disgraced financier. Draft messages from 2013, saved in Epstein's email account, appeared to document feelings of betrayal aimed at the Microsoft co-founder.
Yeah, I met Jeffrey in 2011. The focus was always, he knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. You know, in retrospect, that was a dead end, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
Bill Gates spoke today and apologized for spending time with Epstein.
Former Prince Andrew has moved out of Royal Lodge home. This comes early with the latest Epstein file releases. Mountbatten Windsor has moved from his longtime home in Windsor to the Sandringham Estate in Norfolk. Being stripped of his former title, the move comes faster with the new Epstein file releases. Mountbatten Windsor's links to Epstein has caused public scrutiny as millions of documents and images come out. Mountbatten Windsor hasn't made a public statement as public pressure increases.
U.S., Ukraine, Russia peace talks have resumed in the United Arab Emirates after a major energy attack. American, Russian, and Ukrainian representatives have met in the UAE for talks to end the nearly 4-year war. This comes after Russian cluster munitions killed 7 people at a market in Ukraine. Moscow has continued to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure, which has caused widespread damage. Officials in attendance aim to address key issues.
The latest U.S.-Russia nuclear arms control treaty is expiring this Thursday. The treaty, which was signed in 2010, was extended in 2021 for 5 more years and can only be extended once. The treaty limits the deployment of strategic nuclear weapons designed to hit an adversary's key political, military, and industrial centers. Together, the U.S. and Russia poses about 90% of all nuclear warheads in the world. U.S. President Donald Trump appears eager to reach a new agreement to restrict nuclear weapons. Putin suggests that both nations should simply continue abiding by the warhead limits without a formal deal for an additional year.
The Washington Post has announced it's laying off 1/3 of its staff. Cuts at the Post began with scaling back journalists stationed overseas and the complete elimination of its sports department. Now, executive editor Matt Murray has announced that all Post employees will receive notice of whether or not their positions will be cut. The legendary news brand has been steadily losing subscribers in recent weeks, in part due to the actions of its owner, billionaire Jeff Bezos.
Big names, big personalities, and historic halftime shows. The rosters are locked for the 2026 Ruffles NBA All-Star Celebrity Game. More on that after the break. Now for entertainment with Manal Qureshi, who has the latest pop news.
Jimmy Kimmel recaps a recent interaction where Donald Trump told CNN News anchor and Chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins that he thinks he'd never seen her smile after she asked him a question about the latest batch of Epstein files.
We are now at the Women Should Smile More stage of his presidency. I'm trying to think of a worse time to tell a woman to smile more than when that person is a reporter asking about the Epstein victims. I can't. And then...
No, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein.
That's right. It's also not a crime to borrow a bottle of baby oil from Diddy. They're not crimes. Stop being such a buzzkill, everybody.
Jimmy Kimmel also told viewers during a separate monologue that he will demand to host the Oscars in 2027 whether they want him to or not, if Melania ends up nominated in the Best Documentary category. This comes after Fox News host Kayleigh McEnany reacted to Melania's debut by saying the documentary should be nominated for Oscars. The rosters are set for the 2026 Ruffles NBA All-Star Celebrity Game, bringing together athletes, entertainers, and internet stars for one of the All-Star Weekend's most popular events. The game will take place Friday, February 13th at 7 p.m. at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California, and will air exclusively on ESPN. Among those scheduled to play are Keegan-Michael Key, Glorilla, Mustard, and Mormon Wives star Taylor Frankie Paul. The celebrity game will also include a special halftime performance by K-pop group Cordis, marking the first time a K-pop act has performed during a Celebrity Games halftime show. All Things Go Music Festival has just dropped its star-studded lineup for this year's celebration after announcing their 2026 return to Toronto last month at RBC Amphitheatre. Kesha and Lorde are set to headline the two-day festival, which will run on June 6 and 7 this year. Artists also include Toronto, The Beaches, Wet Leg, and Delwater Gap. Lorde has revealed that she donated her take from her merch sales in Minneapolis, totaling $204,000 to the Minnesota Immigration Rights Action Committee and Immigrant Defense Network. The singer is currently on her Ultrasound World Tour and played a pair of shows in Minneapolis in October. She announced the donation in an Instagram post alongside a picture of ICE Out written on her hand. Lorde joins a growing list of musicians speaking out against ICE. Justin Bieber, Billie Eilish, and Kehlani, amongst others, wore ICE Out pins on the red carpet at this past Sunday's Grammy Awards, and several winners used their acceptance speeches to speak out. Bad Bunny, who has been the subject of controversy ever since he was announced as the performer for the Super Bowl halftime show, used his time on the Grammy stage after winning Best Music Urban Album to declare ICE Out. Kim Kardashian and F1 racing star Lewis Hamilton have added more fuel to the dating rumors. The couple spent the weekend at the exclusive Estelle Manor in Cotswolds. The two arrived separately, with Kim arriving first and Lewis arriving an hour later. The two had a special use of the hotel spa, enjoyed a dinner in a private room, and were seen with 3 bodyguards. The couple left Sunday morning through a side entrance and got into the same car. Prior to this, the suspected couple were both in attendance at Kate Hudson's New Year's Eve party in Colorado, though they weren't photographed together. KK and LH have not confirmed a relationship. I'm excited to see things develop for Kim K and LH. That's all for me. Back to desk.
Thanks for those entertainment updates, Manal. Now here's Nigel D'Souza with sports. So Nigel, who do you want to win the Super Bowl this Sunday?
Honestly, it doesn't matter to me who wins, because with Bad Bunny performing, we all win. Get the snacks ready, because Super Bowl 60 is right around the corner. The Seattle Seahawks, led by Sam Darnold, will take on Drake May, and the New England Patriots this Sunday. The two teams faced off in the Super Bowl back in 2015, where Tom Brady and the Patriots took the win in a 28-24 game, which ended in a goal line interception. The Seahawks and their fans have been haunted by that moment and will be looking for their revenge 11 years later. Super Bowl 60 goes down at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. The Los Angeles Clippers have agreed to send shooting guard James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 11-time All-Star is going back to the Eastern Conference during his highest scoring season in 6 years. He's currently averaging 25.4 points with LA, the second highest average on the team. The Cavaliers are sending point guard Darius Garland, a second-round pick for the 36-year-old. Cleveland becomes Harden's 6th team in the NBA after being with the Clippers since 2023. Tonight, the Toronto Raptors will be defending their home territory against the Minnesota Timberwolves at Scotiabank Arena. The game doubles as the inaugural WWE night, where fans can expect a WWE-themed experience. Center Jakob Poeltl is currently out with a back injury, which has limited him to just 7 minutes of playing time since December 15th. Chucky Hepburn, who's still dealing with the knee injury, is also out of today's game. The Raptors are looking to string together a win streak after going 1-2 in their last 3 games. Yesterday, the Toronto Maple Leafs made like a certain American orange and stole the oil right out of Rogers Place in a 5-2 win over the Edmonton Oilers. Mateus Michelli scored 2 goals for the Leafs, while Matthew Nyes and John Tavares and Bobby McMahon each added 1 to the final score. Anthony Stolar saved 34 of 36 shots on goal, which helped extend the Leafs' win streak to 3. With the league heading into the Olympic break, the Leafs return against the Tampa Bay Lightning on February 25th. Team Canada's hockey team has given their equipment a fresh new look. Men's goalie Logan Thompson and women's goalies Anne-Renee Debian, Emerence Mashmeyer, and Kaylee Osborne revealed their custom-made helmets for the Winter Olympics. Thompson's helmet features the Calgary Tower, Rocky Mountains, and a grizzly bear. The women's helmets include cartoon drawings of Canadian beavers, bears, and moose. Canada's Olympic hockey tournaments begin tomorrow for the women's and February 12th for the men's. That's all for sports. Now let's see what the weather is looking like. And for that, we go to Christian Costantino Ferreira.
Hear ye, hear ye. This seer of seers is here to tell you that groundhogs are frauds. What do you mean we have 2 different answers from 2 different groundhogs? This is why we as a community need to come together to only trust real meteorologists, like me, to tell you when the spring is coming. And that's exactly what we'll be doing here with our 5-day forecast. Thursday morning brings plenty of clouds during the day, and unfortunately, snow to end out the night. I'm starting to think Phil was right. There's no escaping the snow. Thankfully, we'll stay in the single digits with a high of -5. That will only dip to -9 Friday morning. We can expect the snow to continue from Thursday and miraculously somehow continue to sneak towards the positives in terms of temperature at -1. However, the low is a drastic change of -21. This is where Canada's groundhog Willie finally mounts his epic comeback to become the one true groundhog. As we get sunny skies on Saturday, unfortunately, the temperature does not mirror the weather, as we'll have a high of -11 and a low of -16. Moving on to Sunday, where we'll have a bit of clouds trying to block us from having sunshine on back-to-back days at a high of -8 and a low of -15. Excuse me if I sound repetitive. Unfortunately, this is just what the all-seeing eye visions for the forecast to start the next week as we enter a 2-day streak of a mix of sun and clouds going into Monday at a high of -6 and a low of -9. We can expect a bit of snow later on in the evening to really start the week off with a bang. In conclusion, we can see that the groundhogs are low-key conspiring with one another to confuse us all. Bring on spring already. While I may be a great meteorologist, there are some things that I can't do. You know, not many people can do this actually, now that I think about it. With more, we go back to the desk to learn more about this superhuman act.
Thank you for all that anti-groundhog propaganda, Christian. I don't think I ever believed in that anyways. Now, let's take a look at a heroic teen who made a superhuman swim 2+ miles to shore to save his family that was swept out to sea.
This 13-year-old Australian boy is being hailed as a hero after authorities say he swam roughly 2.5 miles in open ocean waters to save his stranded family. Austin Appleby was kayaking and paddleboarding with his mother and 2 younger siblings off the Western Australian coast when they were swept out to sea. As their kayaks began taking on water, Austin's mother made an impossible decision.
One of the hardest decisions I ever had to make was to say to Austin, try and get to shore and get some help.
Austin set off, but after his kayak took on water, he abandoned it and swam the rest of the way.
Not today, not today, not today. I had to keep on going. I think at one point I was thinking of Thomas the Tank Engine. Trying to get the happiest things in my head.
Austin's incredible will was tested further when he got to shore and had to run more than a mile to his hotel to call for help. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority was alerted and found the family clinging to the paddleboard. Austin is now being called a hero and his life-saving swim superhuman.
I'm speechless at his efforts, but at the same time, I knew he could do it.
Man, that was heroic. Do you think you could make that swim?
I mean, the fact that this 13-year-old boy swam hours, and on top of that, he was still able to get help for his family, which is truly amazing, and I would agree, superhuman.
Yeah, a lot of adrenaline, I'm sure. I would die. Yeah. You ever been out to sea?
I am not a great swimmer myself, but I have learned how to swim, but definitely not for hours, especially at that age. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a look at today's news. I'm Sakina Ghayur.
And I'm Sunday Kessig. Thanks for tuning in.